Hello, and welcome to the Author Roundup, a special segment of the Book Connection Show where we meet up and coming indie authors and talk to them about their recently released books. Hello, and welcome to Author Roundup. I'm your host, Jenny, and I'm glad that you can join me as we get to know another indie author as she talks about her new book and her writing journey. Her book is called Nature Child. The journey continues. Step forward and let faith open the window. Nature Child's essays are inspirational and are filled with wisdom that offers guidance to someone seeking happiness that will enable them to find their life's purpose through faith, hope, and love with unyielding belief in themselves. With their God given talents, they could assist others, and they too would see restoration and wholeness in their lives. Please welcome our special guest, Roxanne R. Mead. Hi, Roxanne. How are you?
Good morning. I'm very well, thank you. And yourself?
I'm doing well. So I'm so happy that we have this opportunity to talk to you about your book. But before I go ahead and ask questions about your book, do you mind telling us more about yourself?
Yes, I have spent many years in the corporate structure. And starting at the ground level, I was wanted to prove myself because at one time, women weren't really recognized as having the ability to be in leadership. I was determined that hard work would prove to them that I was worthy of being there. And my effort was proven very effective.
Okay, so corporate life for you, like for how many years was that?
Now, a woman never tells her age. 25 plus years. And, you start at the ground level and you're not going to have any ego. You're going to see what you can do to help, ask a lot of questions, interact, and make them feel comfortable that you wanted to be a part of them. I was young, and of course, they were looking at me like, why are you here? Why don't you take care of home and babies? And there was nothing wrong with beautiful family life,
Mhm.
but I wanted to make an impact, and here was my chance. So in the telecom world, you have to learn how to do everything, from going to a project site to, being in an office with all the corporate structure meetings and so forth, meeting deadlines with no mercy for rest or getting a time to have a vacation.
Mhm. Okay. And I know you mentioned a little bit of that in your book. So your book, Nature Child, has been out for like a couple of months now, right?
That's yes, uh-huh.
Can you tell us more about your book?
Oh, yes. The book was a dream I'd had years ago when I was little. I wanted to be able to write these beautiful little stories and tell everybody about the beauty of nature because I found such rest when I went walking by a brook or at a little place where it was just quiet and I could listen to the birds. It was just peace, so much peace.
Mhm.
And I treasured it. And then, of course, as you get busy in the industrial world, you forget all about that. And you feel the stresses every day. So again, I went walking, get outside, get rid of this. I wasn't going to take a lot of prescriptions to get rid of stress. I wanted another way. And the Lord showed me, that I could enjoy the beauty of the grass. I took off my shoes and I walked in the grass early in the morning and I felt the dew on my toes. And it was like, this is what I remember, the peace of being outside. And I wanted to share it with people, saying, we don't have to go through extreme measures of wrong lifestyle. We can enjoy our life and ourselves if we would just seek the presence of the Lord. And it wasn't anything but maybe a 12-minute walk, aerobics, with a little bit of good nutrition. So the book got me inspired to go back and let's begin with basics. Keep it simple. People need love, they need water, they need air. And we're not so different. We have different opinions, but we can agree we don't agree. But let's enjoy the pleasure of sharing with our family, sharing with our company, sharing with those at the grocery store. And simple things like, how about a bottle of water to someone who comes to your house when they've worked 12 hours and they've had nothing to eat? A simple kindness. I want to see that put back into this world.
Mhm.
And I believe if we do the simple things, we can do that.
I see. So you somehow already answered my next question, which would be what's the inspiration for your book? So these little walks that, or the short walks that you've been having before to, to handle stress and all that. So this somehow brought about the inspiration for the book.
Yes. I saw things that, were simple, very basic, like watching the clouds. And I
Mhm.
would think, one day the Lord is going to come in those clouds, and I wonder it's today. And I saw that there was a need for people to see the beauty of a bird singing.
Mhm.
How about, the simple, the grass against the wind? And, I captured that. I sat down and I wrote, what was it like? So I pretended like I was talking to the grass. Scripture says that, the trees of the field clap their hands. And I was thinking, I wonder if they really do, and I began to sit down and think about that. And it was like, what about if they did? You know? And as I wrote, I was like, the pen went across the page, was feelings of all types, happiness, sadness, a death of loved ones. We lost 7 of our family members one year, and it was just what a tragedy, but yet there was hope when I saw that there would be a time when I would see them again. And I wanted people to know that when they go through hardships, whether homes were destroyed, through storms or fires, or they've lost a child, or maybe one is running in the streets now doing things they shouldn't, there is hope. There is an answer. And I wanted them to say that God is the way, but we have to have love. And it starts in our own home. It starts in our own belief in our heart. Are you loved? Do you feel loved? Do you feel needed? Who are you? You know, and to search to find out who you are. The purpose of your life was the focus of this book. I want you to have life and life more abundantly. And so hardships come, and no, we don't understand them. It's like a tapestry in the wall. We love to live without pain, but unfortunately, it's part of our growth. We don't like it. The
Right.
butterfly probably didn't like fighting the way out of the cocoon. The chicken didn't want to come out of the egg and be Sunday dinner. You know, but he had a purpose. We love chicken, but in all sincerity, I wanted to see people put back love into their own heart, their own self-respect. If you don't respect you, how will anyone, be able to respect you?
Mhm. Okay, so Roxanne, have you always had this connection with nature?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It was my way of escape. I could put my feet in the brook and, just walk across the stones and never feared anything. Lay in the brook, drink the water. you know, it was just my way of time out, So, it was like, this is a simple answer for people. They don't have to, take a bottle of whiskey to get peace, or be in a wrong relationship. But, well, what they're looking for is love and acceptance and learning how to communicate.
Mhm.
And that has to start in your own heart. Well, there's only one going to show you the way. He is the truth, the light, and the way.
Mhm.
And it's okay to get quiet and listen to the birds and smell the flowers and realize they have a season, the pretty seasons of spring, fall, and then they die. But come spring again, they're back. So
Mhm.
it's a fresh start. We can walk away from the past, things that were said that shouldn't have been said. They weren't pleasant, but you have a choice. You can believe that, hold on to that, or you can move forward. So when I said step forward, the Lord showed me as I was walking on the path that you can't walk backwards. You'd fall over. So what have you to gain by walking backwards into your own life? Walk forward. Take a chance. Be like Peter, walk on the water. When his eyes are on the Lord, he walks on water. Yeah. The Lord said, we would do greater things than he. And I said, Lord, if you weren't God, I would say you're lying. You know, because how could I possibly do something greater than you? He said, you're going to tell them that I love them across the world, across the nations. And I thought, Hey, I'm just a small individual. How could I ever do that? Well, here came internet, okay, which I was working for all these companies. And it was like, oh my word, we are going to shoot in seconds across the galaxy, but that you love them. And nobody can say they don't want love. That's a fact.
That's
You know, I reach out to people and I say, "Well, why are you working in this job?" Because that's what I used to do. I used to help get people get in the right positions for a corporation. And they'd say, well, I need to pay the rent. Or I heard your name and I hope to be somebody. Well, they didn't really understand the vision, the purpose, or why they were there. And I thought I was like that. I remember my first job when they told me I had to be professional. And I thought, what does that mean? I took a bath, you know, I got clean clothes. What's professional? Well, they were trying to say you have to understand who we are. Well, when you come to the Lord, you can come as innocent and as just as you are. And He wants you to be just you. He said, I'm the one who does the work of changing you. I made you righteous. So I didn't have to be perfect. I could just be me. I play with a purpose every day. I understand there are changes happening, but you know what? Change is not a problem when I have someone going before me who knows what's ahead. So I could take away the fear. I could lay down the unknown and what would be something that would try to stop me. Because I had said, just like with our camera adventure today, I had to say, Lord, I don't know what I'm doing, but you do. And you know what I need to say. And you know what I need to reach out to your people in the future and do. So here I am, just as I am, saying, good morning, world. God loves you.
okay. So with nature and God as inspiration, and then I understand your book is a collection of essays, right?
That's
Um,
true.
okay. Have you always had the passion for writing essays?
Yes, I would, I wrote many, in business, you write all these different programs, procedures, and so forth. But when I wanted to relax, I would just think of a thought and then things would fly across the page.
Mhm.
And it was so much easier, to be able to see it in paper, and it was just like, when I saw my book for the first time, I said, "You wrote that?" And I was like, "Oh, I did," and I couldn't believe it myself. It was like a miracle looking at me, and it's a real truth that there is a God in heaven. So many people, they maybe attend a church, but they don't know the God who's in that church,
Mhm.
and it's sad to think that we have people who need love so desperately, and God wants to give them. He's laid down His life. I read it in the Greek and the Hebrew, okay? And that crucifixion was definitely devastating. And to think that he would have us on his mind from Genesis, who gave us a free will, spoke us into existence, wanted us to have life and life more abundantly, yet he gave us a choice for life. But we have the right to reject him. Now you think, who would want to reject love? No, they don't want to reject love. They just don't know how to reach out. So I took nature, the whispering of the wind, a storm. There's stories in these essays that talk about when I embraced the storm and I watched it in the sky. And, it was frightening. Yet it was exciting to know that the one who owned the sky and rode on the clouds as his chariot was my daddy. And he said, ask me anything according to my word. Now, see, there's a key I want to make today. You know, a lot of people pray, but they don't pray the actual word. When Christ himself was tempted, he was tempted, but he came back with, it is written. Now, isn't that a wisdom to us to say, if you're going to pray, you better know the talk of the land? If I went to France, I'd have to speak French. If I went to Italy, I'd have to speak Italian. Well, why do you think when you're praying, you shouldn't speak the word? Well, that's important. And I would make that a big emphasis to people. The second would be your integrity. If you give a promise, people need to know you're going to keep it. A child, when they look at you in innocence and say, Daddy, can I have a new pair of shoes or a new bike? And you say, of course, I'll do what I can to get it to you. That child will never doubt, and they'll remind you several times, you promised. Well, guess what? You have a daddy in heaven that I speak about in this book that awakens you to the truth that you can come before his presence through Christ and the righteousness of him. And you could say, Daddy, you promised that you would meet every one of my needs. Daddy, you said you would do more than I could think or ask. Daddy, you are the I am. But he doesn't have to scream at us. People say, how do you hear God? You know what? Get quiet. He doesn't have to prove anything. He has the power. He knows what he can do. He doesn't have to scream or shout. He just needs to say, I am. And he did that to me as I was walking one day. I said, well, where are you? Show up. And he said, I am. And I went, where are you? He said, I am. And I said, okay, 0001 to my level, where are you? And he said, I am. And I looked all around and I said, so you're in the clouds and you're in the wind and you're in the water and you're in the breath that I'm breathing and you help me move and you in my heartbeat and you are the I am. Wow. I was like, and it's that simple. It's that simple. It's not the building, it's your commitment to get to know him. He treasures to know you. He treasures to show you his love. And yes, he'll lead you in the right way, but if you're not going, you can count on the fact he'll make you know you're going the wrong direction. But sometimes, even when we hear it, we still do what we want. But you know what? He's so loving. He's willing to give you a chance to come before him, tell him you made a mistake. He already know you did it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it says in my book, that, you can cry out to him. You can sing with him. I'm not a singer, but he doesn't mind when I sing, when I walk, or when I ride my bike. He doesn't mind if I sing while washing the dishes. He loves to hear me sing, and he loves to hear you sing. And he wants to hear that, you do appreciate him. At one time, I called him a ham. I said, you just want everybody to tell you you love them and you love him. And I laughed because he said, don't you like to be told that you're loved? He's got a good sense of humor.
Okay, so you're very passionate about all these things, nature, God, and of course, writing to be able to come up with this book. So let's talk about your journey as an author this time. How long did it take you to complete your book?
This book was written in 8 months. However, if I take it back to when I was a mere child, I could say it took my whole life, because when I was actually, ready or considering retiring, I said, what would I do with my life, Lord? And he said, what's the desire of your heart? And so I began to think, and I was kind of getting, home late still from work. And I looked up, and on the TV was the commercial for the publishing firm. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's nice. And I thought, well, and I forgot it. 3 weeks went by, commercial came back. Okay. And this time I got my phone, my Apple phone, and I took a picture. And I said, okay, I'm going to call them and find out who they are and get, what this is all about. And I didn't know where to start. I was just like, okay. So then here was the little girl in my mind. And I said, well, just get a pen and see what you'll write. Well, before I knew it, I was back. Nature Child was awake. She had woke up to the new journey. And here we are today.
So 8 months after then Nature Child was published. Okay.
Yes.
Can you tell us more about what did you find enjoyable in the whole journey as an author? What was enjoyable for you? What was the most fun part of it?
Well, I would go and they said, what are you doing, Roxanne? Why, now that you're retired, taking a vacation, you're doing this, you're doing that. And I said, no, I'm doing all the list of things I didn't get a chance to do while I was working, but
Mhm.
I'm writing. And they said, well, what are you writing about? And I said, "How valuable you are." And they'd go, "Really?" And I said, "Yes." I said, "We all have a purpose and it shouldn't be stolen from us." So whether I was at the grocery store or I was, at the cleaners or I was, in the church or wherever, I was like, yeah, so you're an author? Well, I'm trying to be. And they were excited to hear that, you could talk about, helping someone regain their purpose, helping someone to feel valuable. And it wasn't that difficult. It was
Mhm.
going to be very simple. And it was as simple as the golden rule: love. God wanted us to love others as we love ourselves, but we had to learn how to love ourselves.
I see. So that was the fun part. Okay, but we all know that writing or publishing a book is not all fun. There are challenges along the way. Can you tell us about the challenges that you've encountered while you were working on your book?
Challenges are technology, okay? On the other side of the field, okay, I can't even begin to tell you how challenging it was when softwares change. Okay,
Mhm.
Apple speaks one way, and Microsoft is another. And here I am trying to send the manuscript, and of course Wesco wasn't able to read it because it was on an Apple document, and I'm going, okay, now how do I get it into Microsoft and trying to transfer that over? So that was like you know, go take a walk, come back, it's going to be all right. And then, of course, you have a very large firm with a lot of staff that are very busy, and you're trying to get through to get the information you need. And you have to, of course, be patient because they're big, they're doing a lot of things. And, of course, you want to have your answer now, but you have to wait. And I would say, all right, Lord, you have a perfect timing. Let me just go work on something else. But, that was a challenge. That
Right.
was a challenge.
So your book has been out for a few months now, and I'm sure that you are already getting feedback or reviews about your book. Can you share to us a review or a feedback that you got about your book that had the most impact on you and why that was so?
I'm so glad you mentioned that. Everyone likes the inspiration. They like the fact that, you could give a simple answer, thank you, and a sharing a how are you today? And
Mhm.
they were like amazed, so the word came back that you made it so simple. Only thing I had to do was stop and ask somebody, "How are you today?" And
Mhm.
stop and actually listen. They liked the fact that it was something positive. It was something tangible. It didn't have to take all these special formulas. They already had the answer. They just had to show kindness. Simple. So they liked the kindness. They spoke about the encouragement. They liked the interaction with that God was still the answer. Even in this crazy world, he is very much alive and well. I've had several, very, very good reviews. So I don't want to brag, but they were nice. If you go out to Microsoft or, to Bing or any of the search engines, you'll see their great reviews are there. So
Mhm.
I'm happy.
That must have felt really wonderful knowing that you were able to touch the lives of different people through your book. What was
Well,
your
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, what realizations did you have after the book came out or after you've published this book?
Well, the biggest challenge is now to market it. Okay.
Mhm.
I wanted something that was going to be, not just thrown in a trash bucket,
Mhm.
and so the learning how to work with the bookmarkers and the social media, I wanted it to be a positive impact. And so I was encouraging the people, go and take a look for yourself. Go out to the author center of Amazon or out to the one of Barnes and Noble and read about it. You have a free sneak peek. Now we had the audio, you have your hardcover, softcover, the actual ebook, and something that was easy enough that they could do in a few moments. I wanted it simple, keep it simple.
Mhm. Okay, so knowing those are the challenges. Like after you have published your book, the work doesn't end there. So you'd have to think about marketing and all that. But when we were talking earlier about the feedback that you've been receiving and the fact that you have made an impact on the lives of different people through your book, what was your realization after all everything related to writing the book or coming up with this book? What were the learnings that you had?
That I had to come out of my shell. You
Mhm.
know, I I I wasn't ready. It was easier just to say, "Read the book," you know?
Mhm.
For me to get into a long conversation was a challenge, you know?
Mhm.
And although in some avenues, you think that would be simple for me because I've done so much public speaking, but when it came to talking about me in the book, it was a different story. I was like, not as you know, I'm more of an introvert. I hate to admit that, but leave me alone. I just want to write my story.
Mhm.
So
But but
you
now you
can't do
have
that in
to.
marketing. You have to get out there and make it happen.
Right, that's right. So you said you're an introvert, but you've been through a lot as an author. I know writing this book is not easy. You talked about the challenges you've had, and at the same time, the joy of the journey as an author. What advice can you give those writers who are still working on their first book?
Good question. I would first say, sit down with your own self and ask, what's the purpose of why you would write it? You have got to be sold. And it's like the Olympics that are going right now in Paris, they had a vision. So with the book, they have to see, what's your vision? What do you want to say? It's got to be something you're going to work out when you're tired, happy, sick, whatever. It's going to be yours. You're signing your name to it. And when they have that first, because when the obstacles come, you still want to see it be published. You still want to see it be an impact. You still want it to be fun. And for a family to come together and to learn new things and to be a better family, that's important. So they've got to not be afraid. And that sometimes is a challenge. But all things are possible with Christ.
Mhm. That's nice. So, how will they keep themselves motivated just to, get to that goal of publishing their book?
Well, doing the research, you got to get rid of what you're afraid of, So, I used YouTube and, the Google, and I said, how do you do this? How do you do that? And I found that if I would start just making a little bit of an effort, it would fall into place. But I had to make the effort. So, one more time, it gets back to if you're not really sold that you need to actually write, then put the pen down.
Hmm.
Okay. But to the ones who are, well, guess what? There's always a price for greatness. You look at famous people from whether it was someone who created Apple or FedEx or Wendy's or Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, the ones of Disney World, these people, were not welcomed with open arms. You know, they had to continue to again and again and again and again. Walt Disney was, thrown out of many a business place as an idiot. And Einstein, well, they thought he had no brains at all and kicked him out of school. So look at those who have been successful and read those little stories. The one, don't sweat the small stuff. Help me, to be able to realize, handle what you can handle and lay the rest of it down. And that author is going to have to do that same thing. Handle what you can handle. See, the improvements that you've made in your writing when you rewrote something and you edified, your whole being by reading it again and saying, I wrote that. And then the beauty that you're going to be the one that's going to give it to someone that'll change their life. That's amazing.
And then that's beautiful. So, let's talk about your goals this time as an author. What are your book goals for the end of this year or
Okay,
until the
well,
end of this year?
the first is working more with the website. I do have a website. Of course, it's the same title as the book, and I'm working with learning about that website and how to best, promote it from the colors to the texture layout to making it be as fast as possible on the system so it's not going to be hard to load. Nobody wants to take a lot of time when they're looking for something. And so it was, of course, dissecting what needs to be changed, what could be added, what could be, updated in those colors and things like SEO and backends, which I know nothing about and trying to learn that. Now, that's, that part. But then, of course, it was getting the bookmarkers and the business cards out, wherever you go, give them a bookmarker and a business card
Mhm.
and making it a part to be a reality that I'm wanting to prove myself. And, I order the books by faith. You know, there are a stack of $1,000 worth of books. And now it's to go to the coffee shop and create the book signing, which I'm waiting on the authorization to do. And
Mhm.
that's going to be fun. Working with Facebook, posting things that every day, giving a word of encouragement and saying, this is the way to have some fun. Let's play with a purpose. You are valuable.
You've got a lot to work on. So you've got a long list of stuff that you would want to work on. Do you have plans of coming up with another second book or with another book?
Yes, yes, I do. It's, the name of the book is One Set of Fingerprints, One Destiny. And this is going to be, more into like the word of Genesis where, God said, and so they said, well, what's your brand? It's the word. What you believe, what you hear is what you are. But who really said what you are? Okay. And what you will do. So it's making them go back to, look at the fact you weren't just a physical happening that came about. You were designed from the beginning of time.
Mhm.
And it's very stimulating because it's making the person stop having excuses, but it's done in a sweet way. It's like, don't blame where you were raised or whatever the background or your lack of skills. You have talent right now inside of you. Just like I look at the beautiful person that you are, here you are extending your time today, your kindness to make this an easy venture for me. What a blessing. I can't say enough how much I appreciate you.
We're all waiting for that second book. I hope that are you already working on it or how far?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yes, very much so. Matter of fact, it is, in its final stages, and I'm working on the audio. This time it'll be hardback, softback, the ebook, and an audio. I want people to go out on that nature trail and be able to take the book with them. A college student could sit on the campus and listen as they're perhaps walking the trail. Or,
Mhm.
maybe a busy mom while she's, walking with the stroller she can enjoy it. The idea, or a senior, like I thought, there's a whole avenue of people that are sitting on a Friday afternoon in their little welcome center, and they maybe not have full capacity to be able to, pick up a book. Well, now
Mhm.
they could just listen, and or maybe it's a young person with with a disabled situation. I wanted to touch that person too. Why shouldn't they be able to see the dream? They are valuable, and we know that just because you're handicapped doesn't mean your life is over. It's just beginning.
Mhm. We're looking forward to the plans of having an audiobook and for the second book as well. Okay, so Roxanne, what would be your final message to our viewers and listeners? So I understand your book is a collection of essays. It has so many nuggets of wisdom that you can share with us. Perhaps you can read like a paragraph or two from your book as a
Okay.
final message.
Yes. I said, no matter your race, your age, your education, or no education, you need to know you are a beautiful person and you belong. The vision of your reality and the peace you need is right within your own heart. I challenge you to touch the world in your daily, everyday walk and to let them know that you're there and that you love them and you're willing to listen. The idea is, it's nothing to do with whether or not you have a master's degree. I
Mhm.
have two of them. And guess what? In this big world, it didn't matter because it's all in who you connect with. So I wanted to say to them, hey, it's your willingness to you see the beauty of you and stop looking for what you're not. And why don't you ask God what you are? And
Mhm.
once you start getting that positive word before you every day, It helps you in the bad days and the struggle. A mom with, maybe three little faces to feed, and she wonders how. Well, she's got talent, and she needs to know that. And those little ones need to know how valuable they are. It starts with what you're saying. And that's what I want to say in that new book. It's what you're saying, the force of your words. Okay. So follow the website and look at the blogs. There's questions out there you can answer, your kind of your heart's desire. I want you to feel comfortable. We are just like each other. You can express yourself. I don't want, personal interaction. I just want to say, hey, what do you call happiness? What caused the stress?
Mhm.
And see if we can't maybe be, somewhat of an answer to making it a little less complicated. Keep it simple. Just in case you haven't seen it, okay, it's easy to find with
Mhm.
lots of pretty, pictures inside. I know that some people like, the ebook instead, if they're an Apple person. It's just what you really want. Make it simple for yourself. It's not meant to be difficult.
Okay. So thank you so much, Roxanne, for the very inspiring talk. I'm sure that you've opened the eyes of a lot of people. So to everyone watching and listening, please make sure you get a copy of the book Nature Child. The journey continues. Step forward and let faith open the window. It's available in Westbow Press online bookstore as well as Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com. And just like what Roxanne said, it's available in paperback, hardback, and ebook to those who would prefer a digital copy of the book. And of course, Roxanne's website, that's www.stepforwardwithroxannermead.com. And we can visit the website and get in touch with her there. So to everyone who joined us, thank you so much. See you again on the next episode of the Author Roundup.